I'm learning so much new stuff, by the way. You wouldn't believe.
What, like cycling?
No, no, like owning a house, like being a homeowner, sewage draining,
all the fun
rainy
stuff.
weather, what to do to prep the house. I mean, it's like I have an MBA in home ownership by now. Reading all these weird factoids.
Have you started like building projects yet?
No, I'm not gonna do that for a while.
That's
we did it with the apartment.
So much fun.
Yeah, we did it with the previous apartment, and we looked at each other after we were done and said, "Never again.
Yeah.
Never."
Yeah. And then you wake up the next morning, it's like, I know it could be good to maybe fix that thing, and
No.
with so much more space suddenly.
What happened is you decided the project was finished, even though you were missing like a small detail, and you wait 4 years to fix it, and that's usually when you move.
This is now. So that's why I stopped doing any of this stuff myself. I also have like in Germany you say two left hands or something like that.
Yeah.
So I can't do anything myself
Thumbs
anyway.
for fingers.
Yeah. Well, that would be useful, I suppose.
10 thumbs up.
Okay, you know what? Fuck it. But it's my father-in-law, my brother-in-law, and then we pay people. Perfect.
Yeah.
That's how it's done.
But speaking about 10 thumbs up, let's do a quick podcast annual business review, because this episode is kind of, I wouldn't say it's a special episode, but it kind of is, because this show is 1 year old when we aired the episode, and we've talked a lot about doing quarterly business reviews, weekly reviews, daily reviews, hourly reviews, all those reviews. So let's do a quick one of our show, because when we started, we looked at each other and we said, we're going to give it a year. We're going to give it a full year. We're not going to discuss like numbers or anything until a year has passed. I think maybe that was a lie, but that's fine. So looking at the numbers.
Yeah.
No. So I was like, the first episode we aired, I want to get 100 downloads the first week. What happened? 10. We got we got 10 downloads. I was like, oh no, what's gonna happen here? But fortunately, we were consistent, and consistency beats brilliance any day of the week.
That's our life motto, right?
Yeah,
there.
that's our life motto. Put it on a T-shirt, put it on a bumper sticker.
That's how we got our wives.
Yeah. Okay, this episode is now over. Now, well into the 5-digit downloads. Well into 5 digits.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome, actually, when you think about it. So I mathed it out. Probably around 6,000 hours have been listened to of you and me.
I am so sorry for everyone.
Yeah, we apologize.
So
We apologize. At least I hope there were some fun stories in there, or you learned something. Who knows?
Yeah.
A lot of great reviews. Not any written yet, even though we tried to do all kinds of spiffs and incentives and whatnot.
So this is also a reminder.
Yeah. We are watching you and we are disappointed.
Yeah.
No, so I think overall, we can be pretty happy about this. And I hope there's a bunch of happy listeners out there as well who enjoy listening to this show.
And I also think we've been working a little bit on attaching, rocket boosters to this show starting very soon, actually.
Oh yeah, we had the first couple of guests, right? So we had Leah Tarin, great conversation. We had Ben Murray, the SaaS CFO, also pretty awesome to get that view. And
but that really was just a warm up.
That was like the appetizer.
Yeah.
Now we're really getting started. Yes. So this month, August 2023, we're gonna have a guest every week. And it's going to be pretty damn epic. I was literally thinking
epic.
Yeah. I was thinking about it on the way to work this morning. It's like we're building an MBA for SaaS. It's like a SaaS MBA.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good frame probably for what's going to happen. But anyway, in today's episode, we thought, hey, this is not like Netflix where you just binge an entire show. Well, I hope it is. But I kind of think people start and then never go back to the early episodes. And actually, we had some pretty good stuff in those 60 episodes. So this is, I think, number 60. We had some pretty good stuff that we don't want you to miss out on. And I picked 6 really strong takeaways. Thank you. Really strong takeaways that we're going to kind of cover today and just do a short playback of some of the nuggets and then talk a bit about it. Hopefully this means you've, in 30 minutes, listened to effectively 6 episodes and gotten a ton of value out of this just 30 minutes of your life.
Right there, let's go.
We are going to start with the first takeaway now. And let me just play a little clip for you to kind of set the stage with that episode. This was actually, by the way, at a point in time when we had upgraded the audio quality. Do you remember we used to share one microphone?
I remember that.
You know what I was up to this weekend?
Tell me. I cannot wait to hear.
I was in a dance-off with a drag queen. Really?
I think this introduction feels a bit over-engineered, Mikkel. I mean, come on.
We can cut that out. That's fine.
Let's see.
But actually, we're going to talk about something way more fun than dancing with a drag queen. I mean, just to add a little bit of flavor to that story, I've actually heard people I catched up with afterwards like, oh, I heard about the drag queen. Okay, so that was actually just, a funny clip, a takeout. I mean, we didn't delete it.
No.
Okay, so we have 6 awesome takeaways. We're going to start with the first one, a clip from the first one.
Yes, so this is actually one of my favorites. Is the 10% rule to double revenue, and let's go and listen to the first clip that we want to play.
I think it's always a funny conversation on how you double revenue, and especially now, we talked a bit about budgets are being reduced, but targets they remain the same.
Yep.
And that's a really tall order.
No, a lot of investors are basically expecting you to suddenly snap to efficient growth. So you've been operating for the last 2-3 years on very inefficient growth. And now you have a quarter to go from that to, hey, you should really be hitting this 12-month payback thing we told you about. So I think that is the expectation out there, right? And basically, how that's being translated is growth roughly remains the same. Let's just say there's a bit of a haircut. But budgets for sure, like minus 50% or something like that.
Yeah. And I'm a fan of winning by design. I know you also really love those guys and the work they're doing. And Jaco over there, he talked about actually this 10% rule that we're going to get into, which is really if you can improve just 7 things, 10% throughout your funnel, that will equal to 100.
Yeah, I think the math is not exactly 100, but basically now the math avid listener will realize, oh, there's a compounding thing in here, and that's obviously what this is about, right? You basically kind of look at your funnel, and you need to find 7 spots that you can increase by 10%. And if you do that, you'll get to roughly 100% over the course of that year or that time period.
So I like, by the way, first off, using, well, it's not really 100%. That's such a great start.
Well, you need to be corrected.
Yeah.
So I think the really cool thing here obviously is, and we're gonna, in this episode, we're going on to actually talk about 7 specific things what you can improve. I think again, right, it's, don't do all of those big bets and, all of those massive things that you want to do. Focus on smaller pieces across, right? And by the way, the math gets even funnier. If you say 5 things, 15%, you also get to 100. This is, I think, also starting to be a bit of a, this is obviously one of those compound pieces. What is really terrible about the compound piece, it works both ways.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like interest in your bank, and the money that you have. That's good.
Yeah.
But on your debt, it's the same thing, and it's not good. And the same thing here, right? So really kind of focus on, improving small things, because otherwise you will have the reverse compound coming your way, and that's not great.
And I think we talked a bit about looking at basically what is the revenue formula, to look at all those elements that goes into the equation. So ACV, sales cycle length, all those stuff, all those elements, and see, hey, which one of them can you realistically move by how much, rather than just saying, hey, well, we need double the budget.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that was one of the really great episodes. Definitely go back and listen to that, or just carry that mindset with you as you head into planning or replanning, for that matter. I think that's a strong thing.
Let's move on to the next one, which is CAC is useless. So customer acquisition cost is useless. The episode dives a little bit deeper into that topic, of course, and we're kind of not necessarily saying that you should be throwing CAC out the window, but there's some nuance, so let's get into it. So number one, CAC just by itself is pretty useless. You can't really use that for anything. So what are people doing? They're basically compounding it with something else.
Yeah.
They're compounding it with maybe a payback period. They're compounding it with LTV. They're compounding it with your gross margin and so forth.
Yeah.
Trying to take care of all kinds of different challenges that could be around it, right?
Yeah.
Because as you acquire a new customer, you don't really ask how long is that customer going to stay with me. So that's then the lifetime value of that customer that would then actually kind of play a role.
Yeah.
If you only look at the acquisition side, then you might be subject to some gaming that happens around it. So very much focusing on segments that are easy to acquire but have a high churn rate.
This was, by the way, one of the more popular episodes we had, and there was a heated debate
On LinkedIn,
on
yes.
LinkedIn with quite a few people. No, obviously Tony CAC is useful, but this came on the back of, I think you joined, was it RevOps Therapy or some other show where you were asked by the audience about CAC, how to calculate it, and just there's just a million ways to do that, and that was kind of one of the primers for, well, why? That seems
I think one of the pieces here is that when someone says CAC, everyone silently in the head goes payback.
Yeah.
and obviously CAC by itself is in fact really fucking useless.
Yeah.
Because you can have a 10 million CAC or 100 million CAC. It doesn't say anything about your business besides that one is bigger than the other, apparently. It doesn't talk about efficiency, right? But obviously CAC payback, that's really important. There are plenty of ways to game it. And I had a really cool conversation on the back of that episode, actually. And someone was kind of telling me that if you're starting to game it, then you will start suddenly all the other things that you want to calculate are also suddenly out of whack, right? The CAC payback itself, and then the LTV, and then the churn, and then suddenly none of those pieces fit together anymore. And the boardroom or the investors will just be like, what the fuck is going on here?
They're gonna be like, well, I don't get it. All the numbers look great, but there's no money in the bank.
Yeah. And then you're just saying, well, Tony said CAC is useless anyway. So
No, but it's true. And I think even recently, you and I were talking a bit about just CAC payback, and that's probably an episode on its own. Like, one of the big issues is when you start the calculation, and then you actually start the investment way sooner than when you start the effective calculation. So there's a bunch of stuff there. I think that's fun episode in the future.
That's
where we talk about CAC payback being useless.
Okay, so jumping into the next one, which is one sales consistency. Try this. And here we're really going through a handful, I would say. Let's see. Let's listen to the clips, but a handful of tips and tricks on how you can make your sales motion way more consistent over time. And really how everyone is seeing it, it's either all my deals close on the last day of the quarter, which basically means hair loss for 89 days. Or even worse, all my deals close in Q4 and around Christmas, right? So a couple of tips and tricks how you can avoid that. And let's jump into it. So first one, it's actually onboarding and offboarding, or I call it onboarding and performance management,
or PIP.
And then obviously kind of when you add more AEs, you obviously always need to make this decision to give them opportunities that then convert less, right? There's always that trade-off. As you add someone else, you basically will be less so efficient, right? But there are a couple of ways to try and kind of get that thing going on the onboarding side. And not talking specifically about the first week or what you should tell them or something like that. We don't have a clue about this. But really, when you think about it, ramp to a degree. Let's just say you had a AE that starts on the 1st of January. And let's just assume that all of this training thing has been taken care of. For some reason, person starts on the 1st of January and comes fully equipped. Knows the platform, knows the competition, knows the talking point. For some reason, all of that, is already there. So how would then ramp up actually look like? Well, it probably has to do something with your sales cycles. Thinking about it. If you have sales cycles of 2 weeks, SMB, guess what? If you give that person opportunities now, like you would give any other person, you can math it out. The ramp up will be 2 months. And that's it, right? And then that person would have enough supply to kind of, work through that stuff, close deals out, and would be great, right? If you have sales cycles that are 9 months or longer, guess what? Your ramp up will probably follow the same thing, right? I think what many people sometimes misunderstand, that ramp up not actually really, it also does, but doesn't really have to do with knowledge. It simply also has to do with sales physics, right? Kind of how many sales processes can you start and how many can you expect to kind of close within that time frame. Yes, very smart man over there.
You agree?
So again, how does that help you with consistency? Well, it's really the, as you slot new people in and, expect them to hit target and hit ramp, this is a good way to think about it. Let's jump into the next one here, which is obviously my favorite topic, opportunity, supply, and demand.
Here we go.
And we have discussed this a couple of times here, and I don't think this idea is novel or anything like this, but it's really important to start executing and thinking like this. Think about it in opportunity supply. So all your demand gen efforts, inbound, outbound, product-led sales, channels, whatever you have.
Yeah,
that's your demand gen. And then your, it's shitty naming now, but it's opportunity demand, right? Kind of how many people want an opportunity. That's really the capacity side.
Yeah.
So you get 1,000 opportunities from your demand gen. Great. How many reps do you actually need to work through this?
Yeah.
That's the question you need to ask yourself. And yes, then if you do the sales math behind it, then there's a quota and a target coming out of this.
Yeah.
But really the capacity here is how many of the, at bats can your AE team actually take at the same time? That's really the question, right? And if you have a sales process that is split in two, meaning demand gen, SDRs, marketing, and so forth, and then the closing part, which is then AEs, if you have that split in two, what you just need to make sure is that the opportunity supply matches the amount of capacity that they have.
Yeah.
And that you manage those two things separately. Yeah. So what does that mean? If you have, those two departments blended together in the sense of an AE is creating the predominant amount of his or her opportunities and then also closing them, what you will see a lot is that after a great quarter, I closed out all my pipe, and then they, it's true, it's not true to certain degrees. Then they need to start generating pipeline again. They need to do the reach out and so forth, and they will be busy with that for a month or so. You know what? They're gonna flunk that quarter, and then then they're gonna get a slap on the wrist, like, hey, why did you only 50%? Blah blah. What can we do? All the sales enablement is gonna come in then, and then see there next quarter they're hitting 150%. Why? Well, because they spent 3 months last quarter building pipeline to then kind of achieve this.
Yeah.
This is the up and down that you want to escape. And the way you escape it is by managing opportunity generation consistently.
Yeah.
Right? If you are consistent there, guess what? You're going to be consistent on the other side as well. Yeah. And I think this is really, this is almost the core of the episode is a bit, straightforward, is really manage the lead gen, your opportunity supply, your pipe generation. If that is consistent, guess what? The revenue coming out will also be consistent.
Yeah, that's really what we wanted to achieve with the episode. And there are a couple of more nuggets in there to listen to for sure. But it was really to also avoid those gray hairs and consistency again. Just way better than brilliance.
Yeah, and there you go. And everyone is going to love it, right? Okay, jumping into the next one.
Yeah, we've done a lot of reviews. We talked a bit about it in the beginning, and that's basically the next one. We recorded an episode called 200 QBRs Later, They're Broken, where we talked a bit about the power of QBRs, so quarterly business reviews, and how they're fundamentally broken today. So let's listen to one of the first clips.
After doing this, I don't know, like 100 or 200 times now, for our customers over the last year, that there's quite some room for improvement for QBRs in general. First of all, doing the QBR in the first case and then doing it well, that's a science in itself, and that's what the other EP was about. But after 200 of those, we've actually realized, hey, wait a minute, there's a completely different way of doing this that would basically be 10xing the output. That's what we want to talk about today.
And the clip doesn't tell you what it is. That was just
perfect. So listen to it. 200 QBRs later, they're broken. Why it is important, it contributes also to this continuous improvement. Everyone thinks this is boring. Oh, continuous improving, that's boring. Efficiency, that's boring. Compounding, interest, boring. But that's really what it is, and what's going to be driving large parts of your revenue probably by getting better incrementally. So this is really kind of a different spin. Instead of going into a QBR, after the fact, really kind of managing this through.
I think we had the analogy of performing an autopsy on a dead body. That's what you're effectively doing, and that's one of the challenges with the QBRs as they are today. I've been thrown on the bus in those. We also talk about that in the episode. So that's pretty good. And should we do just one more clip here? Because we have two more. We can kind of pick and choose. And I think maybe this clip 8. I like clip 8. Let's do clip 8.
The main thing that I kind of hate about most QBRs is executives walk in and then expect to get entertained for an hour and a half. And this is not our case necessarily, but it's also the internal case, right? So you kind of use a RevOps team and we prepare, and we now know that RevOps is involved in it in different ways. Sometimes they just do a data package, sometimes they do the whole thing, sometimes they kind of only support or whatever. But usually it's kind of sometimes kind of a laid back kind of feeling of the executives walking and then, okay, now entertain me. Now tell me what happened. Right. And obviously then you get into the, hey, didn't you read the present? It's like, oh no, was
I'm
busy.
too important for that.
It's busy. And then you obviously get into our other, most fantastic problem, which is, ambushing people. Right? And obviously, I feel this is a story that comes up all the time. Yes. So back then, when I was running those QBRs, you were one of the executives coming in, not so laid back though. And you, with what kind of an attitude did you step into the room?
No, I kind of said, I think we've recorded maybe before, talked about it at least, but I was always had this mindset of, okay, how are they gonna fuck me today? That was always, you always had it in your back of your head. Even if you actually had a solid quarter, you were like, okay, what are they gonna hit me with?
Come on, it's easy. You can always find something that's fucked up in marketing.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that comment there.
I love it. No, it's and again, right, this whole thing of it's really important to have a retrospective in that sense. That's how we started to refer to this. Looking back and learning and understanding and creating this culture of trust and so forth, which is really difficult, by the way. But I think one of the main issues with this is you do look back and then it's like, oh, on Tuesday 7 weeks ago, we actually had an outage on our demo form for a week and we didn't realize. That is something that shouldn't be coming up 90 days later. This should be coming up, the second something happens, and should be addressed there. So really, instead of having this autopsy, really rather finding ways to improve things as they happen or as they deteriorate.
I think we really got into the how do you operate as a team to catch improvements on the go, catch opportunities or challenges. And that's really what changes then fundamentally the QBR. So go back, listen to the episode. It's definitely a different take. We also have a blog post about it on our blog you can check out. That's kind of summing up the process there.
That's it. And now I think we're going very far back.
This is like we sharing a microphone back.
Like an iPhone microphone. So the episode is called The One Thing to Scale. Let's listen to the first clip. The reason why it's important is you will kind of figure out your way to get to the million. If you have a product that has enough market and so forth, founder-led sales, you will get to 1 million somehow. Or you have something on your website and there's some organic inbound and that gets you to 1 million. But really what those VCs want after that is triple, double.
What is that?
So that really is something that I think some VCs defined as the unicorn path. And maybe this is now a couple of years ago, and I think it started out with triple and then 3 times double, and then they flipped it around. But really what it means is, okay, now you hit 1 million. And from now on, you need to triple at least twice and then double 3 times. Or in what I said before, you need to triple 3 times and then double twice. So, tripling 1, you go from 1 to 3, then you go from 3 to 9, then you go from 9 to 27, then you go from 27 to 50-ish, and then you go from 50-ish to 100. Unicorn. Yeah.
Easy.
That's the idea. So what all of these investors are going to be looking for is, once you hit the million mark, is, okay, how can you grow according to that path?
Yeah.
That will be their question. And the problem that poses for you is that whatever you use to get into the 1 million, it will probably not scale to get you to 3 and 9 in those next 2 years.
Wow. Audio quality.
Yeah. But my math was pristine.
Yeah. Triple, double, triple. Yes.
Yeah. And again, right, so the idea is, well, getting to 1 million, that can be done. And then really the difficult part starts with this unicorn path that you be on. And the whole episode is around, what is that one thing to scale, and, how to think about it going forward afterwards.
But it's so funny because there's, I think, so many founders and companies, they miss this point that you need to find one channel that works and really focus on that. When I've talked with founders and CEOs, like, Series A, B, C, SaaS businesses, always like, yep, we want you to come in and you need to build the newsletter, you need to build up social, you need to do maybe a podcast, you need to do a blog, you need to do, like, there's a laundry list of 20 things that they want to be successful in, but that's besides the point. You need to find one you can be successful in, and then you can start building the next. We talked about even outbound. It usually takes you, what is it, like 6 months?
Everything takes you 6 to 9 months, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So, again, back to the consistency piece, you got to find one thing to scale. That's really the task.
Yeah.
Okay. So
should we move to the next one?
Last episode.
So the last episode was done with my favorite host.
I was thinking I should get also one with Olafur in here, but this is with the substitute Bart.
That is with Bart, wonderful Bart. He will be starring a little bit more often, actually. Now,
yeah, he will come in for a couple of episodes.
So it's pretty cool. And maybe we listen to the first clip where he has a comment on our hairstyle. Oh, Mikkel.
Yes.
How much hair you have grown. I'm so jealous, Mikkel.
What? Are you jealous that Mikkel just actually has some time off now instead?
And also, you finally got rid of your your Danish accent.
I got rid of the Danish accent. You wouldn't believe what I had to do to get all this hair right now as well.
Yeah. You need to tell me which product you use because...
Did you know that they actually have shampoo and conditioners separate?
Yeah, that was one of our conversations, by the way. Mikkel and I didn't know this, and it's like, well, maybe that's why you don't have any hair left.
There's a good chance. Yeah.
So actually, maybe he shouldn't do more episodes. No, but it's good to see that we can riff with other people as well. That's good. Good to know.
Is that a good thing? I'm not quite sure.
I don't know.
The episode is actually, so this was basically just when the year flipped around from 22 to 23. Everyone was already very beaten up because this whole Ukraine war has been going on, and all the ripple effects from this actually. And we basically were saying like, okay, 23 is gonna suck, right? What are the things you can actually do in order to turn this around, make this a good year for you? And we actually talked about, I think, five specific plays that you can execute and how to think about it. In order to drive those efficiencies, right? And it was really down-to-earth, hands-on examples that you could theoretically start executing tomorrow.
Yeah. So that was like 6 of the handpicked top episodes, most listened to, with just some recap on some of the takeaways. We're going to go for another year and record. And we're also going to be recording with guests, which I think is pretty epic. We've talked so much together. It's about time we introduce more entertainment into this.
I mean,
show.
It's been a long year,
But 1 year down, 1 year more to go.
Cheers, Mikkel.
I was thinking, should we have champagne for this episode? But then, YouTube, we're going to get cut. My coffee's cold now. I'm not going to drink that. But anyway, thanks so much for listening.
Thanks,
Really
everyone.
hope you enjoyed it. If you've enjoyed it as much as we have, please leave a review. Just one. That's all we ask. Just one review. That will be appreciated. Thank you so much. And looking forward to one more year.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye. Thanks,
Bye.
Mikkel.